Hi, my name is Pete Hahn, and thank you for watching this tutorial video. Be sure to visit www.hahn-tech.com for the full library of video tutorials. I hope this video increases your knowledge and helps you become more efficient with this topic, whether for home or work. Please support this channel by sharing these videos with your friends and colleagues. Hi guys, welcome to the demo video for the Sierra Chart Divergence Lines Premium Indicator. This is our very first premium indicator published for the Sierra Chart platform. I'm very excited to be publishing this indicator today. We have already published the Divergence Lines Indicator for the Thinkorswim platform and the TradeStation platform, and it was incredibly popular and still is. And so I'm very excited to introduce this for the Sierra Chart platform as well. Right now you can see on your chart there are multiple lines and they're color coded to match a legend. The legend appears in the upper right hand corner, and we have labels indicating divergence, positive and negative. And I also have on the bottom of the chart here a MACD indicator. We're going to walk you through how to install the indicator on your platform and then how to add it to your charts. There are two components. One is a standard divergence lines indicator, and the other is a hidden divergence lines indicator. And very shortly, as we get into the next section of the video, you'll easily be able to tell them apart. Before we get into the details, this is a great time for our disclaimer. And that is that I am not a professional trader. I don't make my living trading stocks, futures, and options. I make my living writing computer code. So nothing in this video can be interpreted as an advertisement or a recommendation to buy or sell any financial instrument. Trading involves risk, and that risk means that you may lose all or more than the money you have put into your brokerage account. Okay, now that the introduction is done, let's get on with the installation instructions. Before we get into the details, allow me to summarize the steps for installing this onto your Sierra Chart platform. When you purchase one of these indicators for the Sierra Chart platform, you will receive an email containing a file. And that file is contained within a compressed folder, a zip folder if you will. And the reason we do that is because the file that you are importing into your Sierra Chart platform has a .dll extension. And many email clients will filter those out. In other words, it won't allow that file type to be received by your email client. And so we need to put it into a compressed folder so that it makes it through the journey successfully. Now, anytime you receive a .dll file from someone, you should absolutely do a virus scan on it. Most modern computers today will automatically do a virus scan when you download something from your email client onto your computer. Okay, so let's get started. Here is an email, and this is sort of what the email is going to look like. It's just an example that I used. And the first thing we want to do is go ahead and download the attached file. And you can see that there's a notice right here. The email has an attachment that allows unverified scripts to run on your computer when opened. Be careful. It may be in some cases that your email client will refuse a compressed folder entirely. In those cases, we will probably need to send you that DLL file stripped of its file extension. And then we'll have to give you instructions on how to rename the file and add the .dll back into the name of the file. I'm sorry guys, but you're dealing with Sierra Chart and there's some technical abilities that are required working with that platform. So we'll scroll down to the bottom and you will see where the attachment is on the email. And we have it right here. We have an arrow that we can click to download. You can see here that it is now downloaded to my downloads folder. So we can go ahead and click that arrow and select show in folder. And here is our compressed folder. We can right click on that folder and we can select extract all. And here are the two DLL files that are associated with this video. There are actually two other versions of the divergence lines indicators, and we'll explain those later on in the video. And now that we have the files extracted, we need to copy them into a special directory that was created when you installed Sierra Chart on your computer. And there's a chance that your installation is not the same as someone else's installation. So I will show you how to find the exact path to the directory that you need to install these files. We're going to go back to Sierra Chart. We're going to go to Global Settings and select General Settings. Right here under Data Files folder, you can see a path to a folder, and that is the exact location you need to copy the DLL files. So I'm just going to use my keyboard shortcut, Control-C, to copy that. We can cancel out of here because we didn't make any changes. Now I need to go back to those folders and let me separate these folders side by side here so that we can click and drag. Because we're going to use one folder, we're going to paste in that path. You see this path here is Users Pete Hahn Downloads. Well, we're going to paste that in. We can right click and select paste, or you can use a keyboard shortcut, and all you have to do is press enter. You see it's Sierra Chart /data. So we're going to press enter, and that's going to take us to the folder where these files need to be placed. Then all you need to do is click and drag to highlight, or you can click once and then press shift to select all, and then we can select copy, and then we can paste anywhere inside this folder on the left. Now I already have these files in my directory, so I'm going to skip these files. But in your case, the files will not exist and they'll automatically get copied to the correct directory. Okay, we can close these folders because we're done with that step. The indicators are now installed on your Sierra Chart platform. Before trying to add them to one of your charts, it's a good idea to close the Sierra Chart platform, save all of your work, and then reopen the Sierra Chart platform to make sure that those DLL files have been made available to the platform. So now let me show you how to add the indicators to a blank chart. So let's begin with a blank chart. I'll go to the File menu and select New Intraday Chart, and I'll select Amazon as the ticker symbol. It really doesn't matter. This is just an example of how to install the indicator. I'm going to close this chart when we're done. Then we can right click anywhere on the chart and select Studies. Now all of your built-in studies are going to be located in this box right here on the left that I'm scrolling through, but all of your custom studies are over here, Add Custom Study. So I click the Add Custom Study button. You can see that I've got a long list of studies. These are ones that I've developed. And you can see the one that's highlighted here is the Divergence Lines MACD X2. That was one of the DLL files that we just added to our Sierra Chart platform. That's how those indicators become available. We select Add and they become studies on the graph. We'll click Add Custom Study again, and this time we want to scroll down until we find the Hidden Div MACD X2, which is the hidden divergence version of the MACD X2. And we can click Add, and then it will be added to the graph. We hit Apply and hit OK, and now those two indicators have been added to the chart. I'm going to close this chart because we're finished with that. I already have some charts prepared, and the next thing I want to show you is how the divergence is measured and computed. So we're going to show you some examples. We're going to isolate the two indicators. We're going to show you one chart that has nothing but the standard divergence lines. We're going to show you a different chart that has nothing but the hidden divergence lines, because those two have a different way of being measured. Okay, so now you can see I've prepared a chart with some diagonal lines drawn across the lower study, and those lines are indicating how the divergence is being measured and corresponding with the lines that you see on the upper price graph. Let me explain those, but first let's explain the difference between standard and hidden divergence. I'm going to cheat and use someone else's image that was posted on their website because I think it does a fantastic job of explaining the difference between standard, or what they call classic divergence, and hidden divergence, or sometimes also known as a continuation divergence. So the difference is that a standard divergence signal shown on the left indicates a likelihood of a reversal in the trend, whereas a hidden divergence indicates the expectation of the continuation of the existing trend. Okay? That should clear things up very well. Okay, so let's go back to the chart, and to be clear, we're going to be focusing on the left side, which is the classic, or what I refer to as the standard divergence signal. And let's see, we're going to need to turn on the legend, and let's turn on some labels so that you understand what these signals are. I can tell by the color code, and you will too as you get to use the indicator. We're going to go to settings, we're going to go to settings and inputs. I'm going to turn on, no, we don't need swing highs, lows. We're going to turn on the color legend, okay? And then we're going to turn on divergence labels. We're going to slowly but surely get through all of the settings here. You can see at the top we've got the setting for the lower study. Then we've got a look back bar. We have these two we're going to cover later on, the divergence comparison price and the swing pivot comparison price. We're going to get to those later. And we've got a few other settings down here, and we'll get to those as we go along through the entire video. So we're going to hit apply and OK, and then we just hit OK here, and that's it. So you can see now the legend is color coded. We have the MACD value negative divergence, MACD histogram negative divergence. And we can see that anything in a bright yellow is what we call a MACD double negative divergence, meaning that that is divergence measured across both the histogram of the MACD as well as the value line of the MACD. And right here we have an example of such. You can see that these dotted blue lines are drawn. We have two of them, and one is tracing the direction of the value line of the MACD, which is the red line. You can see it is descending. And the other is tracking the histogram of the MACD. You can see that it is also descending. And what is happening with our price? Our price is ascending. So we'll go back to our picture here, we have the classic negative divergence on our chart. Now, according to our color legend, anything in orange is a MACD histogram negative divergence, and we have an example of that right in front of, I should say historically, just before the double negative divergence. You can see the label here is showing ND2, that's negative divergence 2. So anything in orange is a negative divergence measured according to only the MACD histogram, as you can see by this blue dotted line here tracing out the descending MACD histogram. Okay, I've got a couple more examples to show you, and then we're going to get right into the hidden divergence. Let me scroll through here. Okay, I've got a couple here to pick out. And here we can see that we've got a positive divergence 2, okay? And we can go back to our color legend here. We're going to need that. And we can see that the MACD histogram positive divergence is indicated by that color. So let's scroll back here and take a look at those. So we can see that those are definitely the MACD histogram. The MACD histogram is ascending, and the price is trending down or descending. Okay, and we have that for both of these examples. Okay, so we want to go back to our little screenshot here, and there it is, the classic divergence. Next, we're going to open up a different chart. We're going to show you the hidden divergence. Okay, and just remember that hidden divergence is meant to be an expectation that the trend is going to continue. So we'll go ahead and go back to our charts. We can minimize this one. And let me bring into view the one that has our hidden divergence. Now this one is really tough to spot with the naked eye. It's really difficult to tell that the dotted blue line is trending higher. So let's go ahead and examine the properties of this trend line. And we can go to the anchors section. And you can see that the line does indeed begin at 0.705 and the line ends at 0.764, which is higher than the previous value. So while the naked eye cannot really see this hidden divergence, it truly is hidden, isn't it? That's funny. What you find is that the code is able to pick it up because the code looks at every nickel and dime, so to speak, if you kind of put it that way. Let's scroll to the right and take a look at a few more signals. This one here is a little tough to tell, but that color of that line, I'm going to zoom in here on the video, but the color of that line is variegated. In other words, it's part white and part gray. So what we have is the histogram is indicated by a solid white line, whereas the value line divergence is indicated by a dotted gray line. We saw one of those back here. Okay, see that right there? And again, that one is almost imperceptible to the naked eye, but the computer code is able to pick it up. So now let's go back to here, and you can see that when you have the two lines together, that is the solid white line and the dotted gray line, that means you have double hidden divergence. And you can see that we have these blue lines drawn out, and you can see that they are indeed trending down while the price is trending up. We'll scroll over here to the right. I've just got a couple of more of these signals to show you, and at the same time you're getting an idea of how these signals work out. This signal ends right here, but there's another signal that begins there and ends a little further up. Okay, so that ends right there, okay, and it begins down here. It looks like it's all one continuous line. It just happens to be almost exactly the same angle. Wanted to point that out for you. But you can see that in this case, the expectation that the trend would continue certainly played out in this case. And even on a stock like Apple, which has been in a relentless bull market, you can see that even the negative hidden divergence did result in some continuation of that trend, until which time it decided, no, we're going higher. It's been a relentless bull market. Isn't that awesome? Now you can see the blue trend line down here against the histogram is trending down while price is trending up. And over here we've got an example of the hidden divergence, negative divergence, which is where you have the histogram trending higher. And again, we have one that is based on the value line, but that value line there, it would be no point for me to draw a trend line across there. You could go ahead and compare the values from one point to the next, and you will see that they're off by, fractions of a penny. And so that's how the code is able to identify divergence that the human eye is easily able to miss. Okay, a little bit later on, we're going to introduce to you another version of this indicator that is able to plot double divergence using the RSI lower study and the stochastic lower study. Two individual lower studies, and it's able to plot divergence signals on both in one indicator. But before we get into that, I want to show you using bar replay how we can trigger alerts. And we have some settings for the alerts that's very important for you to understand. But I want to give you some examples and show you how the chart plays out as if it were live. We don't really have a way to play it back live, but the bar replay is pretty close. It's almost like Thinkorswim's on-demand feature. It really is pretty handy, and I think more useful in some respects. Okay, now I've got a 5-minute chart of IBM. And the reason I dropped to a 5-minute chart is because the bar replay does not work on daily time frames or higher. It only works during intraday charts. First thing we want to do is examine the settings for our alerts. Let's go to Studies and select the Divergence Lines MACD X2, and we'll select Settings. And we can see that we have Alert on Bar Close set to Yes. It's a very important setting, and that's going to be made very clear by the examples that we give. I'll make sure to point that out. We'll test it both ways, yes and no. The alert sound. Currently it's set to no alert sound. What this means is the alerts will trigger, but they will only display in the alert dialog. You can disable an alert by changing the alert sound to alert disabled. We're going to change the alert to alert number 3. We're going to hit apply and OK, and then we can just hit OK here. Now, alert number 3, sound, is found in your global settings. Under general settings, we go to alerts/general 3, and you have your alert settings. Here are the alert numbers. These are the alert sound numbers. I just changed that study to alert number 3, and you can see that it is 3beeps.wave. If you wanted to change the sound associated with that alert level, then you would click the button Select Sound File and scroll through until you find the sound that you like. I'm going to hit Cancel and Cancel to close out of that. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of where that alert sound was coming from and how to set it up, because by default they're set to none. You have to set those up individually. So let's see, we're going to go back to this signal right here, and I just need to capture the date and time. It is October 10th at 15:50. So we'll press the bar replay button. Now there's a lot to explain about the bar replay mode, and we're going to save that for another video. So Don't get too wrapped up in these details. I'm just going to go ahead and take over and set things up so that we can replay the chart from the point we want to. Now this is a 5-minute chart, and each time I click this button to move forward, I want it to jump ahead 2 minutes, not 5, so we can do partial bars. When I hit play, it's going to erase all of the data to the right of that point in time, and then we'll be able to watch this signal as it plays out. After I press play, I need to acknowledge this dialog box, and then we'll go ahead and advance the chart a few bars. Here we can see a signal appearing, and the signal's appearing, but there has been no alert. Why is that? Because the setting for that study, alert on close, is set to yes. Okay, so this is a very important point to get across here. That means that this bar that comes after the signal bar has to close completely before the alert is sounded. This prevents false signals from being alerted. You can set it to no, in which case you will be alerted every time there's a possible divergence signal, but you will be alerted before that signal locks in. You'll have a lot of false signals, but you'll be notified a little earlier. Let's go ahead and move the bar forward a little bit. And you can hear the alert. We had the 3 beeps. And you can see this is the text that is displayed in the alert dialog, indicating that we have a standard divergence. It's actually a MACD double negative standard divergence, and it's locked in. It's locked. Okay, we can clear the log, hit yes, and we can close that alert dialog. Let's go ahead and review another signal. Let's scroll backward on the chart and find another signal. I think I would like to see how this one works out right here. And that one is October 9th at 13:10. And we actually want to start the chart somewhere back here. So 1300 hours on the 9th of October. And before we go ahead and hit the play button, we're going to right click and select Studies. We're going to edit the settings of the Divergence Lines MACDX2. We'll click Settings, and then that last setting right there on the bottom, Alert on Bar Close. Remember I had mentioned it previously. We're going to set that to No this time. We'll hit Apply and OK and OK. Then we can go ahead and we're going to hit Stop on the bar replay. That's picking up a signal that was at the close of the day. How about that? So we'll clear the log there, and we'll close that, and then we'll hit play. That should bring us back to our time, October 9th at 1300 hours. So you can see that the bars are playing back already. We're going to go ahead and speed it up a little bit by adding a few here. And there you can see the alert was triggered as soon as that bar closed, but this signal is not locked in yet until this bar closes. So you understand now that we changed that setting. Alert on bar close is set to No. So now we've got a situation where we've been alerted to a divergence signal that is not yet locked in. Let's add another bar to the chart. And now you can see that the signal was false way back here where it was first triggered, and then we had to wait for the rest of the bars to unfold until that line finally picked up a signal. But yet this signal is not yet locked in either. It just happens to be the next swing pivot that the code was able to find. We're going to need to add another couple of bars to wait to see if this signal indeed locked in, and yes it does. So now is where that signal is locked in. So you see now the value of having that setting set to yes is that you don't get false signals. If you want to be alerted earlier, then you have to suffer with some false signals. Okay, that's all I really need to show you on the alerts, because the hidden divergence is going to alert the same way as the standard divergence, and the MACDX2 is going to alert in the same way that the RSI stochastic does. In fact, now that I've mentioned the RSI and stochastic version, let's go ahead and jump right into that, and let me explain to you how that indicator is able to draw divergence signals from 2 different lower studies. Okay, now my charts are set up with the divergence, RSI, and stochastic indicator. And for the first one, we're going to be showing you standard divergence indications, and the next chart I bring up will be showing only the hidden divergence for the RSI and stochastic. Before we continue, let's go ahead and refresh what the difference is between the standard or classic divergence shown here on the left, and that is a price trending down while the oscillator is making higher lows. That is classic divergence, and that is positive divergence. On the right here we see hidden divergence is just the opposite. Rather than measuring in a downtrend, we're measuring in an uptrend, and the uptrend is looking at higher lows in the price action and lower lows in the oscillator. So I've drawn a few trend lines here on the chart so that you can see how the indicator is marking the divergence. And you can see in the upper right we have our color legend. That's going to tell us for each color of line we have what type of divergence we're looking at. So for instance, the fuchsia color here, or magenta, is a RSI negative divergence, and we have an indication of that. Let me turn on the crosshairs. We have an indication of that right here between these two bars, and you can see I've got this dashed blue line down here drawn across the RSI so that you can see how the indicator is picking up trending higher in the price action, trending lower in the RSI lower study. And we move a little bit to the left here and we can see that we've got another type of divergence. This one is a full K negative divergence, so that is picking up the stochastic. Now down here on the lower subgraph I've got another dashed, I should say dotted blue line, and you can see that the stochastic is trending down while the price is making higher highs. Let's scroll a little bit to the left. I think I've got one or two more to show you here. Yeah, there we go. So now this is an example of double divergence. You see the yellow line here, according to the legend, means we have RSI and full K double negative divergence. And so in this case, I indicated that by drawing your dotted blue line here across the RSI trending down, as well as the stochastic trending down, and then we have price action making higher highs. Now let's flip on over to the other chart where I can show you the same thing with the hidden divergence. And for this one, the solid white lines are measuring the stochastic divergence, and the dashed gray lines are measuring the RSI divergence. Very similar to the hidden divergence MACDX2. You can see in this case we have the dotted gray line on top of a white line, meaning we have double divergence. So to indicate that, I have drawn the dotted blue line on both the stochastic full K as well as the RSI, indicating how that divergence is being computed. We can scroll to the left a little bit further, and I've got just a couple of more examples here. And these are solid white lines, so we know that those are full K divergence signals, and we have a dotted blue line here indicating a possible continuation of the trend. It looks like that one worked out. And then we have another dotted blue line here indicating a possible continuation of the downtrend, which really didn't last long. But after all, this is Apple and it's been on a rocket ride. So let's see, we've done all the divergence signals, the different types, so you know that we have 4 indicators really. Divergence MACDX2 in both the standard and the hidden divergence. We have divergence RSI stochastic in both the standard divergence as well as the hidden divergence. I've shown you how to do alerts, and we've looked at almost all the settings. I'm pretty sure we've covered all the settings. I think one thing people are asking is, does it work on a tick chart? Does it work on a Renko chart? Does it work on a point and figure chart? Point and figure divergence? Gee, I wonder if that's really a thing. Might want to Google that one. Well, let me go ahead and show you some charts here so I can fill that information in for you and let you know that the indicator plots across multiple different chart types. So up in the upper left, I've got a chart that I will maximize. That is crude oil is what that is. Let's open that up a little bit. And what we have here for this chart type, we'll look at the settings. We'll go to chart settings, and you can see that it's a range bar, true in ticks, set to 5 ticks. We'll cancel that. So that is a range bar set to 5 ticks on the crude oil. So we can just kind of scroll through that so you can see that the signals do indeed plot correctly on this chart. So we'll go ahead and minimize that. Let's go on to, oh, I got to show you this one. This is the E-mini S&P, and this is one time frame and type of chart that I think is just absolutely miserable for divergence. Do you see? Look at this right here. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars in a row of equal highs. This is just the most miserable type of environment to try to measure divergence, because you really don't have a very clear indication for when prices are making a swing high or a swing low. So I just want to scroll through this chart because this is a disaster, okay? You don't want to plot divergence on a chart like this, okay? So let's go ahead and change the settings here. We'll go ahead and go to chart settings, and we'll change it from a 512 to something like a 2000, which I think with the volume that you have on the E-mini, you wind up with this being closer to like somewhere between a 3 and a 5 minute chart. And you can see that we eliminate a lot of those consecutive high bars. You know, we don't have like 6 bars in a row at the same high or 6 bars in a row at the same low. We can scroll through here and we can see that the divergence signals have cleaned up considerably. Okay, so that is something that I'll be honest, I'll show you where it doesn't look good, and I'll show you where it plots just fine. Here's another chart, and this one is an E-mini S&P. Let's go to chart settings so we can view. This one is a Renko bar in 3 tick increments. So I want to show you what that looks like. We'll scroll back here. It actually looks a lot cleaner than the 2000 tick or the 512 tick chart. You can see we've got hidden and standard divergence plotted together, and the only reason you wind up with kind of crazy lines like this where it crosses over with this series of highs here is because you've got these multiple or consecutive highs. The E-mini just tends to do that. It will it doesn't have like one single high that stands up, you know, above the rest, you know, with the wick standing above the highs around it. And I can show you how to correct for that. There's a setting that we haven't really covered. This is a great time to go into that. Let's go ahead and go to Studies, and we'll edit the study for Divergence Lines MACDX2. Let me draw this aside here. And we go to Settings, and then there's these 2 settings right here, Divergence Comparison Price and Swing Pivot Comparison Price. By default, for looking at swing highs, we look at the high. For looking at swing lows, we look at the low. And likewise for comparison of divergent signals. In other words, if we're making 2 swing highs, when we want to compare the value of each, we look at the high. And then if we look at 2 swing lows and we want to compare the values of those, we look at the low. Well, you can also change this to close. Now let me first off, let's turn on the swing pivots. That is defaulted to no. We'll change that to yes. We'll hit apply so you can see those little green and red dots will appear wherever there is a pivot high or low detected by the code. And now we can change the swing pivot comparison price, okay, which is going to say essentially how the swing pivot is determined. For a swing high, the swing pivot is looking to the left and to the right to see if there are any higher highs. If there are not, then it declares that bar the swing high. Now we can change it to close, and then it will compare close to close. Rather than the high of each bar, it will look at the close of each bar. So for example, when you have an instrument like the E-mini S&P that tends to have consecutive high bars all lined up in a row, then this can help. So we can hit apply, and now you can immediately see the effect. And because now we're able to say, even if you have the same high 2 or 3 bars in a row, you're most likely not going to have the same closing price. Okay, so that's one way that you can adjust this indicator to look at the different part of each bar to do its comparison. Now you can also do the same for the divergence comparison. You can switch that from high-low, which is the default, to close. And we can hit apply and OK, and we really don't see a lot of change there. A lot of times if you're looking at the comparison between the price and the lower indicator, there's very little difference between the high of the bar and the close of the bar sufficient to make a change in the signal. Suffice to say, those adjustments are available within the indicator. I'm going to go ahead and set those back to default. It's a good thing this came up so that I could remember to show you guys this setting. Change that back to no. We'll hit apply. You can see the changes taking place there. We've got a couple of settings we haven't covered here. We got right side fill space. We have legend display size. I can show you those really quick here. And then we'll get on and look at the rest of the time frames because I've got that point and figure chart to show you too. So let's see, display divergence labels, we already did that. The gap percent for labels, let's turn on divergence labels and set this to yes, hit apply, and then let's go ahead and adjust this to 50, and we'll show you what that does. It just determines the offset or the space between the label and the high or low of the bar. Okay, so good thing we got a chance to show you that setting too. Let's change that back to no, hit apply. Alright, good. So then let's go ahead and look at the legend. Let's cancel out of these and we'll scroll all the way to the right so we can see the legend. And then we'll go ahead and go to Studies, Settings. We want to show color legend. Change that to yes. We'll hit apply. You can see that it immediately displays. Now we have legend display size. We can change that from small to medium to large. I'll show you what each of those looks like. And you set it to large and you can see some of the text is printed to the right of the end of the viewable screen on the chart. That's what this setting is for, right side fill space. Let's change that to 15. So now you can see that you can set the legend to its largest displayed value, but also increase the amount of fill space to the right so that all the text can fit within the viewable screen. Okay, let's go ahead and cancel out of this and let's get back into our time frame analysis here, and let's look at the point and figure. Yes, I said point and figure. You can do divergence on point and figure. I don't know if it's valid or not. Someone can tell me whether or not that a professional trader would actually look at and consider divergence on a point and figure chart, but there it is. You can display it. What's this one here? That's a 15-minute. We've already covered that. Okay, so we've shown you the various time frames that you know the indicator is going to plot on various time frames. If you have something in particular in mind, then when you place your order, go ahead and put something in the comments there about wanting to see some screenshots, and you just tell us what you want to see, and I'm more than happy to provide you additional information to satisfy your curiosity before you make a purchase. Okay guys, that's it for the demo video. We've essentially completed the instruction manual for the indicator, and now I want to show you where on our website you can go to place an order and get more information about this indicator, and that is right here under Premium Chart Indicators. Just go to the Hahn-Tech website and you go ahead and click on Premium Chart Indicators, and that will take you to this page that I've developed here. Previously it was very difficult to find the order form. Honestly, it just kind of happened by accident. I always placed the link and the instructions on how to order at the end of the video, so if you didn't watch a video, you never even got to see where you could buy it, and you had to watch the video all the way to the end. I decided to make it a little bit easier for you guys to purchase things. I'm sacrificing though that some people are going to be buying my indicators without being fully knowledgeable of what the indicators do. That was one of the things that was a benefit doing it the old way, is that you had to watch the video before you could place an order and buy one. So now it's up to you guys. You know, you can just buy it and not watch the demo video, but if you ask questions, I'm going to refer you back to the video. And you can see we've got different sections here. Thinkorswim trading platform. And then you scroll down and we've got the TradeStation trading platform, and we've got more coming here, so I put a little marker there so you can see. And in Sierra Chart right now we don't have anything loaded, but as soon as this video is published, right here in the left hand panel you're going to see a thumbnail, and the buttons are going to be active to go take you to the demo as well as the order form to place an order. Let me show you what the order form looks like. We'll go ahead and look at the TradeStation order form. The Sierra Chart order form is going to be very similar to this, and you just scroll down here and you can see that you fill out your first name, email address, last name, and then you can just make your selections depending on what you want to purchase, and your total is calculated automatically for you live right here on the order form, and discounts are applied depending on what combination of items that you purchase. So we don't try to explain how all the discounts work because it could be very tedious and laborious and probably confuse you anyway. If you ever wanted to leave a comment when you place your order, just go ahead and click that box right there, and that will open up your comments and questions. You can just enter whatever text you enter here. When you hit the submit button, it's going to go ahead and send that comment along with your order. So we've got instructions, and we've got a what happens next here, so you don't have any question whatsoever about the process. Instructions are up here about the order form, and again, all you do is click to open, click to close. Once you hit the submit button, it'll close automatically. And for Sierra Chart, which is what this video is all about, for Sierra Chart, you'll be clicking down here, click to open Sierra Chart order form. Right now it says check back soon, pricing and demo videos are in process. Guess what? This is it. This is the process. So guys, I really encourage you to use these share buttons down here at the bottom. That's a great way to let people know, especially for my Thinkorswim viewers. I really appreciate you guys sticking with the video and checking it out, because there is some really great things here for customers of TD Ameritrade. As in the closing comments here, I do want to show you that the Sierra Chart, if you go to their website and you go to supported data and trading services, here's how Sierra Chart works. What they do is they provide the platform, you provide the connection to whatever data service that you want to subscribe to. And so you can scroll down here, you can actually buy a data service through Sierra Chart, or you can use any of these. Transact Futures, I've used those guys before. They have a really great trading platform on futures contracts. And you've got TD Ameritrade here, you got Interactive Brokers. So if you have any of these feeds or want to take advantage of them, you've got a Google Finance data service. So that's like no additional fees. It's free. Fees charged by Google, no additional fees. Yeah, see that? So anyhow, this gives you an idea of the flexibility. I personally am connecting my TD Ameritrade, the same username and password that I use to log into Thinkorswim. I use to log in and connect Sierra Chart, and that's where all this data comes from. When you see those charts that I just showed you, all that data is coming from TD Ameritrade. So guys, that's what I've got to show you. Again, don't forget to like and share the order page for our premium indicators. This allows me to do what I really love to do, and that is to provide you guys free tools and instructions on how to use various trading platforms. It's not all about Thinkorswim anymore. I'm branching out so that I can help a broader audience with even more technology and help you guys even better. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Thank you for watching this tutorial video. Be sure to visit www.hahn-tech.com for the full library of tutorials. I hope this video increases your knowledge and helps you become more efficient with this topic, whether for home or work. Please support this channel by sharing these videos with your friends and colleagues. Thanks, and take care.